There is a specific kind of loneliness that only the strongest person in every room will ever understand. And if you have felt it, you already know exactly what I mean. It is not the loneliness of being ignored or unwanted. It is the loneliness of being so reliable that no one ever thinks to ask if you are okay. And the cost of that role, the one you never auditioned for but somehow always play, is far higher than anyone on the outside will ever see. Psychologists call this the support provider paradox. The people who give the most emotional support receive the least in return, not because others are cruel, but because strength creates an illusion of imperviousness. When you are the one who always has it together, people stop checking on you. They assume you do not need it. And you, in turn, learn not to ask. This begins earlier than you think. Maybe you were the oldest sibling who had to be the example. Maybe you had a parent who leaned on you emotionally before you were old enough to understand what that meant. Maybe you just learned, somewhere along the way, that your value was tied to your usefulness. That love was something you earned by being unbreakable. And here is what almost no one realizes. That early conditioning does not just teach you to be strong. It teaches you that your needs are secondary, that expressing vulnerability is a burden, that if you crack even a little, the entire structure around you might collapse. So you do not crack, you adapt, you become the rock. But here is the mechanism nobody talks about. Every time you suppress your own emotion to stabilize someone else, your brain encodes that suppression as the correct response. This is called emotional labor invisibility. The work you do to manage not just your feelings, but everyone else's becomes so automatic that even you stop noticing it. It becomes part of your identity. And identities are hard to let go of, even when they are killing you. You start to notice it in small moments. A friend calls you in crisis at 2 in the morning, and you answer, and you listen, and you say the right things. And when you hang up, you realize no one has called you like that in years. Not because you do not have problems, but because you have trained everyone around you to see you as the solution, not someone who might need one. This is the double bind of perceived strength. The better you get at holding space for others, the less space anyone holds for you. And the worst part? You start to believe that is how it should be. That needing support is a failure. That if you were really strong, you would not need anything from anyone. There is a term in clinical psychology for this: compulsive self-reliance. It shows up in people who experienced early emotional neglect or parentification, where a child had to become the adult. These individuals develop a hyper-independence that looks like strength but functions as armor. They cannot ask for help because somewhere deep down they learned that no help was coming. So they stopped expecting it. And you can see this play out in your relationships. You are the one people vent to, the one who remembers birthdays, the one who notices when someone is off and asks about it. You are the glue. But when you try to open up, even a little, you can feel the shift in the room. The discomfort, the subtle resistance, because you are not supposed to be the one who needs. You are supposed to be the one who provides. This is where the hidden cost starts to compound. Because emotional suppression is not neutral. It has physiological consequences. Studies on expressive suppression show that chronically inhibiting your emotions increases cardiovascular strain, elevates cortisol, and weakens immune function. Your body keeps the score even when your mind pretends everything is fine. You are paying for your strength with your health, but the psychological toll is even quieter. You start to feel like a fraud, because inside you are exhausted, anxious, barely holding it together. But outside, everyone still sees the strong one. So you keep performing, you keep showing up, and the gap between who you are and who everyone thinks you are gets wider and wider until you do not even recognize yourself anymore. This is what psychologists call identity foreclosure. You have locked yourself into a role so tightly that you cannot explore who you might be without it. And the role is not even one you chose. It chose you, or someone else chose it for you. And now you are stuck maintaining it because everyone depends on the version of you that never falters. And here is the part that almost no one sees coming. The people who love you, the ones you have supported for years, they are not withholding care on purpose. They genuinely do not see that you are struggling, because you have gotten so good at hiding it. You have trained them to see you as unshakable. And now, when you finally need someone, you do not know how to ask, and they do not know to offer. This is the cruelest irony of the support provider paradox. Your strength isolates you. The very thing that makes you valuable to others makes you invisible to them. And the more you give, the more you reinforce the belief that you do not need anything in return. You become a one-way street. And one-way streets do not sustain relationships, they sustain roles. Now here is where it gets darker. Because at some point you start to resent the people you care about. Not because they did anything wrong, but because you are giving from an empty tank and no one notices. You start to feel used, taken for granted, and that resentment sits in your chest like a stone because you cannot express it without shattering the image everyone has of you. This is called relational burnout. It happens when the cost of maintaining connection exceeds the reward, and it is especially common in people who have been the strong one for so long that they have forgotten what reciprocal support even feels like. You start to pull away, not because you want to, but because continuing to show up feels like self-abandonment. And the truth is, most people will not notice when you start to withdraw. Because you have been so good at managing your exits quietly, you stop volunteering information, you stop reaching out first, you let conversations fade. And because you are always the one initiating, the one maintaining, when you stop, the silence is deafening, and it confirms what you feared all along, that you are only valued for what you could give. But here is what you need to understand. That fear, that belief that you are only valuable when you are useful, it is not truth. It is a wound. And wounds, when left untreated, become identities. You have spent so long being the strong one that you have forgotten you are allowed to be human. That needing support is not weakness, it is connection. And connection is the entire point. This is the turn. Because the cost of being the strongest person in the room is not just loneliness. It is the loss of yourself. Every time you prioritize someone else's emotional stability over your own, you send yourself a message. I do not matter as much. And after years of that message, you start to believe it. You start to disappear. So what do you do when you realize you have been carrying everyone and no one has been carrying you? The first step is the hardest one. You have to stop performing strength. You have to let someone see you struggling. And that will feel like the most vulnerable, terrifying thing you have ever done. Because it is. You are dismantling the armor you have worn for years, and not everyone will know what to do with that. Some people will disappoint you. They will not show up the way you showed up for them, and that will hurt. But it will also show you who was there for the role you played, and who was there for you. And that clarity, as painful as it is necessary. Because you cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. The second step is rebuilding your relationship with your own needs. You have to practice saying, I am not okay, out loud, even when it feels like a confession. You have to ask for help, not as a last resort, but as a regular part of being human. This will feel unnatural at first, like you are doing something wrong. But that discomfort is just the old identity resisting change. And here is what happens when you start to let people in. The right people will rise to meet you. They will show up. They will hold space, and you will realize that all this time you were not unlovable or too much. You were just surrounded by people who had gotten used to taking. And when you stop giving from empty, you make room for people who know how to give back. This is not about becoming weak. It is about becoming whole. Strength without vulnerability is not strength. It is a defense mechanism. Real strength is knowing when to let someone else carry you for a while. Real strength is admitting that you cannot do it all alone. And that admission does not make you less. It makes you human. Because here is the truth no one tells the strong ones. You do not have to earn love by being useful. You do not have to be unbreakable to be worthy. You are allowed to fall apart. You are allowed to need. You are allowed to be held. And the people who truly care about you will not see that as a burden. They will see it as the privilege it is. The chance to finally give back to the person who gave so much. So if you are the strongest person in every room, if you are the one everyone calls, the one who always has the answer, the one who never complains, I need you to hear this. You are not a support system. You are a person, and persons need support too. And it is not selfish to want that. It is not weak to ask for it. It is the bravest thing you will ever do. The hidden cost of being the strongest person in the room is that you forget you were never supposed to carry it all alone. And the moment you stop trying to, the moment you let yourself be seen, not as the solution, but as someone who also has problems, that is when you finally stop being the loneliest person in the room. That is when you start to come home to yourself.